Guys, so update. In the last video, I said I was gonna add some posters, but of course they're not all finished because money don't grow on trees, you know. So let's just show you. So this is my mermaid. I love her. Like, she is my favorite. Now, if you go over here, excuse my cat's craziness, because, you know, he's like that. And then I got my Stranger Things poster. Comment down below if you like Stranger Things, because, like, who knows? Who likes Stranger Things? Now, back to the video. Hello, my pretties. I'm Rose, and welcome back to Ramble on Rose. Now tonight's a very special day. We're going to talk about murder. So close. I don't want to hit you. I'm literally going to stab myself, but yes! Okay, we get it! We get it! We get it! Now, in all seriousness, tonight's going to be a very special night. Now, I'm extremely hot in this wig, so let me just take it off. But, I mean, it's kind of a good look for me. Like, I mean, come on.
It looks spooky.
I made a beard. Oh my gosh.
Shall we move on?
When your hair is a beard and it's so on fleek. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry you had to witness that. Okay.
So
my weave is coming off.
we're starting Act 2 and of the Scottish play, and soon there will be a murder.
By the way, you can buy my merch at. Just kidding. No, a friend of mine gave this to me a while ago, and it was really big on me. So now it's finally a shirt.
Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Banquo, who we know is the Scottish king's friend and knows about the witch's prophecy.
Okay, hold on. What was his name again?
Banquo.
Banquo! Okay.
And Fleance. Do you remember who Fleance is? Fleance is the son of Duncan, the King of Scotland. Remember King Duncan Donuts?
Oh. He was called Krispy Kreme.
And so they, Banquo and Fleance enter with a torch before them.
A torch? Like
Yes.
this one?
Yes.
I don't want to blind you guys, but this one?
Yes. Banquo. How goes the night, boy? Fleance. The moon is down. I have not
Here's
heard
the
clock. Banquo. She goes down at 12. Fleance. I take it 'tis later, sir.
'Tis later. Oh gosh.
So they're debating about what time it is, whether it's after midnight. Banquo, hold, take my sword. And he gives him his sword. There's husbandry in heaven. Their candles are all out. Take thee that too. And he gives him his belt and dagger.
Belt and dagger.
Where's the dagger?
Shoot. Oh, hold on.
Yeah. Gives him.
Oh my gosh. The dagger has died.
Gives him his belt
I don't have it.
and dagger. All right.
Okay, I'm not gonna. Every time I'm getting a little closer.
A heavy summons lies like lead upon me, and yet I would not sleep. Merciful powers, restrain in me the cursed thoughts that nature gives way in repose. So he's having weird thoughts and he can't get to sleep.
That site.
Maybe it's because his father is about to be murdered. Enter the Scottish king and a servant with another torch. Torch.
I thought this was used for the. Okay.
And Banquo says, give me my sword. Takes his sword. Sword.
No, my sword.
Sword.
No.
I want to see that sword.
Okay.
Give me the sword.
Little closer.
Who's there? Macbeth. A friend. Banquo, what, sir? Not yet at rest? So why aren't you asleep?
Why
The
aren't
king's
you asleep?
the king's abed. He hath been an unusual pleasure, and sent forth great largesse to your offices. In other words, he's giving you a lot of money. Um, this diamond he greets your wife withal, and by the name of the most kind hostess, and shut up in a measureless
And shut up!
no, he's shut up in a measureless content, which means he's gone to bed. Uh, and then he gives a diamond. I'm sorry, we didn't have a diamond. You got an extra diamond?
Don't on
Hey,
me, man.
just hand it to me. Imaginary diamond.
Hold up, I think I have one. Whoop, it's me!
All right, how about we're
Okay.
cutting all this out, by the way.
No! Leave it in, future editing dad.
All right.
Oh, shoot, I forgot to say your name. Okay.
It's okay. Well, they all know that.
They all know by now. 2 episodes in, they're good.
All right, gives down. Macbeth, be unprepared. Our will became the servant to defect, which else should free have wrought.
I messed up the microphone.
Banquo, all's well. I dreamt last night of the 3 weird sisters. To you, they have shown some truth. So Banquo has been thinking about the witches. Macbeth, I think not of them.
Okay.
We know that's not true. He says, yet, when we can entreat an hour to serve, we would spend in some words upon that business, if you would grant the time. In other words, let's talk about it later.
And maybe,
And Banquo.
and maybe some murder. Okay.
But he's keeping the murder a secret to Banquo, and he says, at your kindest leisure. And Macbeth, if you shall cleave to my consent, when 'tis, it shall be made honor
shoot,
for
no
you.
murder. Okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping for
and
some more
Banquo.
murder, but no murder.
So I lose none in seeking to augment it, but still keep my bosom franchise and
you mean
allegiance,
my bosom? Just my
and
bosom?
allegiance clear.
Just my bosom?
I shall be counseled, Macbeth. Good repose the while. Banquo, thanks, sir. The like to you. So he says good repose means good night. Exit Banquo with Fleance. So it leaves Macbeth there where with just the servant. And he tells the servant, go bid thy mistress, when my drink is ready, she strike upon the bell. Get thee to bed. So he tells the servant to go to bed as well.
Just go to bed, man.
And then suddenly he sees a vision of a dagger hanging in the air.
Being a little bit like this. Oh shoot! The dagger fell. Wait, hold on. Imaginary. You can believe if you just have an imagination. Life is your creation. How you're going with it? Yeah.
Is this dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not, fatal vision, sensible to feeling, to sight? I can't reach it. I can't reach the dagger, thank you.
Even though I'm totally shorter than you, it's fine.
So is it fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind? Of false creation, proceeding from the heat-oppressed brain.
Oh shoot,
I see yet, in form as palpable as which I now draw. And he draws a dagger.
Usually I'm supposed to hold the dagger because I'm the creepy.
Thou marshal me the way that I was going. So the dagger was pointing the way he was going, which was to go kill Duncan. And as such an instrument I was to use, mine eyes are made the fools of the other senses. In other words, his eyes are playing tricks on him. or else worth all the rest. I see thee still, and on my blade and dungeon gouts of blood, which was not so before. There's no, so he now sees
I
blood
just
on the
keep
blade.
doing this because
So
it's
that's
fun.
perfect.
I
Yeah.
just keep tapping it, and it's just like good.
There's no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs thus to my eyes. Now, o'er the one half world nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep. Witchcraft celebrates pale Hecate's offerings, and withered murder, alarmed by his sentinel, the wolf, whose howls his watch. Wolf, howl. Thank you. And thus, with his stealthy pace, with Tarquin's ravishing strides, toward his design moves like a ghost. Thou, sure in firm set earth, hear not my steps, so don't let me make any noise. Hear not my steps, which way they walk, for fear thy very stones prate on my whereabout, and take the present horror from this time, which now suits with it. Whilst I threat he lives, words to the heat of deeds, too cold breath gives, and a bell rings. I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell. All right, that's the end of scene 1. Scene 2. Stop.
Oh, whoops, I like the video. Ha!
Okay, scene 2. Enter Lady Macbeth.
It's true, though. All of y'all were thinking it, and we're not stopping.
All right, now we're beginning scene 2, the fateful scene, and it begins with Lady Macbeth. First, before we start, cut the music.
We were all thinking it, okay? Lady Macbeth, though.
Okay, cut the music. I need to explain this to you, okay?
Okay, fine.
All right.
Fine. But she still is.
Spoiler alert. We're not actually going to see the murder. Okay, what happens is the murder takes place off stage in King Duncan's room. And it's a common theatrical technique called elision. Have you ever heard of elision?
Illusion?
No, elision. Elision.
No.
And it's very common. Elision is in grammar has to do with when you eliminate a letter. Like instead of I cannot, I can't, or I shall not, I shan't, or instead of I'm going to, I'm gonna. That's elision, where you're actually leaving out words. So in a play, elision is where you're leaving out a scene, but you're letting the characters tell you about what happened. You follow me? And so it's actually, I read about it, and it's actually a very common theatrical technique used all the way back to the Greek tragedies, where the murder would actually take place somewhere else, but they would actually be able to leave more to the viewer's imagination, and so they would be able to describe, like for example, how Medusa would turn men into stone. You know what I'm saying? Or how the Cyclops, the Cyclops killed the Odysseus's men.
Hold up. Got them. This is Duncan, my prize Julie, and this is M. Okay? We got the... I'm sorry. So we got Duncan sleeping. So let me just like mother like daughter.
All right, so enter Lady
Whoops.
Macbeth. Lady Macbeth, that which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. So she remembers she made the guards of her Duncan store drunk so that they would fall asleep.
Oh shoot! I'm about to stab my own.
What hath quenched them hath given me fire. Hark, peace! It was the owl that shrieked, the fatal bellman, which gives the sternest good night. He is about it. The doors are open, and the surfeited grooms, that is, the people who are watching over him, do mock their charge with snores. Can I have snores? Yeah, you can do better than that. I have drugged their opposites, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die.
Can I reenact this dying scene?
And so then we hear from within, so Macbeth is in the room killing him.
This is MB.
And we hear from inside the door, "What? Who's there? What ho?" And Lady Macbeth, "Alack, I'm afraid that they have awakened, and 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. Hark, I laid their daggers ready. He could not miss 'em. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I'd have done it." So she says that she would have killed Duncan herself if he didn't look like her father. Enter Macbeth bearing bloody daggers.
Oh shoot! Let me reenact the death scene of him. All right.
"My husband," says Lady Macbeth. Macbeth, "I've done the deed."
Hold up. So this is what basically happened. This is Macbeth, and this is Duncan, of course. All right. You ready? Okay. 3, 2. Shoot! It didn't play.
All right. I'm glad we got that out of the way. "I have done the deed. Did thou not hear a noise?" Lady Macbeth, "I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Did you not speak?" Macbeth, "When?" Lady Macbeth, "Now." Macbeth, "As I descended?" Lady Macbeth, "Aye." Macbeth, "Hark, who lies in that second chamber?" Lady Macbeth, "Donalbain." That's his son, one of his sons. Macbeth, "This is a sorry sight." And he looks at his hands, and they're covered with blood. Lady Macbeth, "A foolish thought to say a sorry sight."
All right.
Macbeth, "There's one did laugh in his sleep, and one cried murder, and that they did wake each other. I stood and heard them, but they did say their prayers and addressed them again to sleep." Macbeth, "There are two lodged together." So he's talking about the murder of the two guards. Macbeth, "One cried, 'God bless us,' and amen. The other, as they had seen me with these hangman hands, listening their fear, I could not say amen. And when they did say, 'God bless us,' so they wanted him to say amen, but he didn't. And Lady Macbeth says, 'Consider it not so deeply.' In other words, don't worry about it, dear. Macbeth, "But wherefore could I not pronounce amen? I had most need a blessing, and amen stuck in my throat." Lady Macbeth, "These deeds must not be thought after these ways, so it will make us mad." Macbeth, "Methought I heard a voice cry, 'Sleep no more.' Macbeth does murder sleep, the innocent sleep. Sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, some labor's bath, balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast." Lady Macbeth, "What do you mean?" Macbeth, "Still it cried, 'Sleep no more,' to all the house. Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Calder shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more." So he heard this ghostly voice after he made the murder.
Wait, okay, hold up. So, this is the ghost. You see that little dude right there? His name is Little Ted. So, this is the ghost. This is my ghost. Hello, ghost. Okay. The ghost, what were you just saying? The ghost
Still it
shall
cried, sleep no more. Sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more. All right, Lady Macbeth, who was it that thus cried, why, worthy thane, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain sickly of things? Go and get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hands. Why did you bring these daggers from the place? Lady Macbeth, who was it that thus cried, why, worthy thane, you do unbend your normal strength to think so brain sickly of things? So she thinks she's crazy. Go get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hand. Wash the blood. And why did you bring these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood. Remember, they were going to try and frame the guards by smearing the blood on them while they slept.
But they got up.
Macbeth, I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I've done. Look on it again, I dare not. So he can't even bring himself to see the bloodbath. Lady Macbeth, infirm of purpose, give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. It is he, if he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt. Macbeth, I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I have done. Look on it again.
Guilty conscience.
I dare not. Lady Macbeth, infirm of purpose, give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. It is, if he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt. So it's got to, we got to frame them. I got to go plant the daggers. So she takes the daggers and leaves. And then there's a knock from within. Macbeth, whence is that knocking? How is it with me? With every noise appalls me. What hands are there? They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's oceans wash this blood clean from my hands? No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incardine, making the green one red. So in other words, if he put his hands in the oceans, it would turn them from green to red. Enter Lady Macbeth.
The ocean is blue.
No, it looks kind of greenish too. It does, especially close to the shore. It's blue in the Caribbean, for example. Enter Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth.
Well, I mean, you, of all people, should know because you went on a cruise for your anniversary.
Right.
Fun fact, they did, and they left me at my grandmother's
And we
house.
had fun.
Yes, and it was. They
And
haven't
we
had
didn't
a good
feel
one.
guilty at all about
No.
leaving her.
They totally didn't sneak me in a book.
We
in a
got you
suitcase.
something. Didn't we bring you something back? Didn't we bring you
I don't think so.
a rum cake or?
I'm
Mom
young.
brought you some. We've got you some good
Oh
stuff.
yeah, it was a rose, a wooden rose.
Yes.
I've hidden
handmade
away from my cats
by
because those two are terrorists.
Special Bahamian craftsman. All right, here we go. The last scene last part of scene 2. Lady Macbeth, my hands are your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. Knock is another knock. I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. A little water clears up this deed. How easy it is then. Your constancy has left you unattended. Another knock. Hark! More knocking. Get on your nightgown.
Hark!
Let your occasion calls us and show us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. In other words, get straight. Let's get out of here. Macbeth. To know my deed, 'twere best not to know myself. Another knock. Wake, Duncan, with thy knocking. I wouldst thou couldst. So he wishes that Duncan weren't dead. And then he exudes. They exude together. So that's the end of the murder scene.
I think that was pretty short, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was not the blood and guts that you see on TV.
Yeah. Not Walking Dead.
But you can see they're starting to go kind of crazy. They're seeing things. They're hearing things. Do you think it's the witches or their imagination?
Both.
How could it be both?
Your sanity in a human's brain can... I'm not a doctor about this stuff, but I feel like your brain can do lots of things just of thinking of something, and especially you can have the guiltiest of consciousness.
But you can actually see a dagger in the air and hear voices?
Your mind can go insane. It just starts picking away at if you've done something. Like, if a little toddler stole a cookie from the cookie jar and their older brother or something is getting blamed for it, your toddler, if they're a really good toddler or like older, would feel bad because you took the blame, and that forms and forms until like you tell your mom or you just stick with it. Oh. You go first. No, don't. It's fine.
All right. That's it for scene 2. There was a lot of blood, but not a whole lot of murder. What'd you think?
Definitely not on that level of Stranger Things. All those Stranger Things fans know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I haven't seen Stranger Things, but I hear that it can be
guys,
pretty
yell
scary.
at my dad for not
I'll get to it.
watching Stranger Things.
But otherwise though, it's turning into quite a psychological thriller, don't you think? With them seeing
weird.
Daggers hanging in the air.
It's kind of weird, just because like both of them are going crazy.
Yeah, it's like they're both going crazy at the same time, and how often does that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, something to think about.
And I'm sorry for me going crazy with a knife. I like to hold things and move around with it, so that's why I'm like looking distantly. And also I have like these weird imaginations in my head.
Yeah, well, it's important to note that no children or cats were
harmed in the video.
In the making
These
of
cats were just sleeping.
The scene. All right, Rosalee, take us out.
Like, subscribe, click that notification bell, and share with your friends. Goodbye. I'm gonna grab my cats. Ugh.